Next panel is Stephannie Addo, Eugene Tinker, and Miss Corliss Udoema. Come on up.
All right, guys, my name is Stephannie. I'm from New Jersey. Name of my business is ACJ Luxury Maintenance. It is like Salex, is named after my kids, Alyssa, Chloe, and Jacob. My business, I'm in the industry of facility maintenance, specializing in janitorial. We are a COVID baby business. We started in March, well, we incorporated in March of 2020, and by April 7th, around that time, we got our first contract, and it happened to be $1 million contract, so it was great. And I'll, delve into that story a little bit later. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy that Eric invited me, and nice to meet everybody.
All right, and Eugene, go ahead and introduce yourself and your company, please.
My name is Eugene Tinker. I have a unique situation. I have certified technical experts who's a technology company. We've been doing government contracts for about 13 years. Was in the 8A program, had about 85 contracts from my process time. And I also own a Hawaiian native company right now called CTG, which we'll get more into it. It's a technology company as well.
Thank you. And Miss Corliss?
Hi, I'm Corliss Udoema. Depends. Some call me Mama U. Some call me Mama Corliss, and some call me In Time. But I started my company as Contract Solutions Incorporated. It's a staffing company. And as much as you've heard about me, the successes that I've had, I'll be very honest with you. I'm just a plain, straight up North Carolina country old woman. And so when I started my company, I didn't know I was doing staffing. But I would tell people what I'm doing. They say, "Oh, you're staffing." So I finally realized that I'm staffing. But I also have a nonprofit because my government name, as you know, is Corliss Udoema, but I like to be referred to as Corliss 365, 24/7, veteran supporter Udoema, because I love myself some active duty and some veterans. And all of us should, because they allow us to wake up in peace.
And Stephannie, we'll start with you. Can you tell us about a time where there's an obstacle that you face on your journey?
And you know the story already, so that's
Of
why.
course. Hey.
Well, basically, I would say this. The very first obstacle I had was with the first contract that I got. So like I told you guys, I started in March. Well, we started with the LLC in March. And by April, the first contract came. So I would say March 31st, around there, I got a call from my friend. And she said, "Hey, there's somebody that's going to do janitorial contracts in your area. I'm going to introduce you." Now, I have known this person before because I'm a veteran. I'm an Army veteran. And, oh, more Army veterans. Yes. Oh, you too? No, okay. Oh, got it. All right, but yeah, so I know this person because I go to a lot of veteran conferences. I've been going to this same conference for years. And he was a teacher there, so basically she just made the introduction further for us. And when they reached out to me, it's like, we're gonna get this contract and I need about 50 workers to be on site for 3 different hospitals within the next 3-4 days. And my company, it was just me. So it's like, but of course, I'm like, yeah, I could do it, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I got it, I got all these people. I've been building my network for a long time. So I was able to reach out to 2 other people that have businesses. And I said, listen, I got this big contract coming on board. Can you guys help me? So they came with their people, but it wasn't much. So then it's like they came with their 8. And then it's like, what, 41 more. So here I am on Indeed, calling people all the time. It was outrageous. Like, you're gonna get a call at like 8 o'clock at night. Are you breathing? Can you work? Can you show up to this? Can you show up to the hospital? And it was it was during the time of COVID, so everything was shutting down. People were scared, people were nervous. And I'm asking them, can you work at a hospital where all the COVID patients are coming? Mind you, it was in New York City, and we were at the epicenter, so I'm covering Manhattan, I'm covering Brooklyn, I'm covering Queens. So that was a big obstacle, calling people 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, saying, hey, can you show up the next day to work? But people did show up, people did come. I had one person, I didn't even say this on the pod, I had one person get to the hospital and was like, I can't do this, I'm leaving. Like he walked right out, right? But I just called another person to come on through. The good thing is the hospital was willing to work with me. They understood. They weren't the best to work with, but they understood in the beginning. And it worked out, but that was one of the biggest obstacles and hurdles that I had to overcome in first doing that contract.
I love it, thank you. That was a great story. Eugene, on our podcast, there's something that you say in the beginning about if they don't let you in the door. Do you remember that?
So, one of the biggest things was trying to get into the door. I was like the youngest guy that was a CEO when I started. So people would look at me like, who is this young kid walking in like he is, and I didn't have any gray hair on my face or anything like that. Low haircut, walks in and, it was basically, how could you get into this place? You sit down and you're IT, so you can come and work for me, but I don't see you being a CEO. You're too young to be a CEO. And if you're the CEO, who runs the company? I said, I run the company. Oh, you can't run the company. So what one of the biggest things was, I was telling Eric when we talked, you gotta figure out how to never accept no. Never accept the thing that say you can't get in, right? So if it comes down to you, and you may think this is crazy, right? If I can't get in, I'm gonna put a card in my shoe and ship it in. You call me and say, hey, how did you get in? Well, I got 1 foot in already. You might as well let me come in with the next one. I'm in the door, right? So you gotta always put that, inside of you, because nobody else gonna believe in you other than you believing in yourself. And you gotta have that faith to say, whatever it takes for me to get there, right? Quickly, I didn't have, when I started the company, when they started telling me that, I was hearing that a lot. So what I did was, I knew I could train people. So I grabbed some interns. And I took these interns from high school and from college, and I said, now I got a staff, right? And these interns would walk around with me and I'll say, hey, look, they're gonna ask us to do something, and if you don't understand, I need you to say, the key word is, can you excuse me for a second? You go to the bathroom and you call me. And when you call me, whatever the problem is, I promise you we'll fix it if you just follow what I'm saying from there, right? So you have to really figure out how to do it. When I walked around then, they're like, who gonna do the work? I'm like, my guys right here. I never told them there was an intern. This is my staff, right? I didn't have any money to pay them, so I went to the college and said, can I have these students and I'll train them? And I did. I trained them, I got them certifications, and now they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars now, right? So you gotta figure that part out. You gotta figure out how to get in the door. And I think the other thing I used to tell you was, take your shoes off. If everybody in this room, take your shoes off and put your toes in the mud. Don't stand in the mud on your shoes. You see these shoes, they slick. But if you take your shoes off, take your socks off and put your toes in the mud, it ain't nothing gonna stop you, because you grind it, you grab it.
I like it.
I like it.
All right, Ms. Corliss, tell us something, saying that you operate by.
A saying that I operate by.
Wait, you've got a whole book on sayings. You have daily sayings, weekly sayings. You don't wrote a book about them. I know you got some good ones.
Oh, look, okay. Let me just show you something. I came because of what you said, but I stayed because of what you did.
By the way, she does have a book. What is it called? What's your book called?
Mama You, Words of Wisdom.
Mommy?
Mama You, Words of Wisdom, speaks on business and life.
And it's on Amazon, by the way, so I want to plug her book. I do have a copy of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. And it benefits, 100% of the proceeds go to veterans and veteran nonprofit associations. And I also have an annual veterans calendar. 100% of that goes to veterans and veteran nonprofit associations. So if you desire to be a part of the veterans calendar, I'm also booking now for 2024.
Now, this is her book, just so I can see a picture of it. I just want to show it up.
And I shared with her, my dream for her is to get, let's put that book on Talkbook. Let's get it to where everybody can download it. And we're gonna do it, we're gonna make it happen. For you, from me, for all you do.
Thank you. So, Stephannie, in 3 days, you had to corral 40 people. You know, that sounds like an incredible feat for anyone out here. How long had you been looking for an opportunity like that?
All my life. No. So I learned about government contracting through going to the veteran events, and I saw so many black women in construction and facility maintenance, and it was really inspiring. My best friend, who's in government contracting as well, and y'all probably saw our podcast with Eric, Sheena, you know, she told me watch Eric, and she kept telling me to do that, and I watched him, and I binged for like, I want to say 2 years before I actually decided to take the jump and say, yeah, I'll, you know, get out here and do that. So when I went to the conference the very last time, although I was learning about government contracting, I wasn't taking action. I don't want to say I wasn't taking it seriously, because I was, but there's a difference between taking something seriously and actually applying what you learned. And I wasn't applying what I learned in the most efficient way. So when I decided to go to the conference for the last time, I said, listen, I'm going to make these types of connections that I need to, as my friend says, get my foot in the door. We got to get our foot in the door. And so through that networking and through responding and through showing up, I was able to do that. But a contract like that, although I didn't know it would be as big, when I first got it, I was just like, listen, I want to build basically your business resume for the government. You got to build that past performance. I didn't necessarily have that past performance. So for me, I'm like, if I could just get in the door, I don't care if I'm breaking even, that's fine, because now I have Department of Veterans Affairs. Now I have 3 hospitals behind me. But I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to say, okay, I'm gonna cover 50 workers, you know. So I told the prime, because when I met him, in his class, he said, if you don't have the money to service a contract and you're a sub, you can ask the prime to fund it. And that was his exact words. So when he called me, I'm like, I ain't got the money. I'm just telling you, I don't have the money. And he's like, no problem, I got it. We just gotta get this done. And it was funded, you know, because you're looking at 50 workers, that's, especially New York City, that's like 100K right there for what, 2 or 3 weeks of work. And I'm like, no, not from just me. So yeah, so he funded the contract and we was able to do it. But as long as I opened my mouth and told them, you know, I didn't front. I wasn't like, oh, I could cover this, whatever. I could get the workers as long as you could get the money. And that's an even deal, so that's what we did.
I love it, I love it. Eugene, you know, you built out this new organization, right? You got your foot in the door, you put your shoe, mailed it, your car, your shoe. I love that story, that touches me so much. It's just a different way to think about things. For the people out here listening to this, what is one way that they can, and I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs do this, where you make a mind shift switch in terms of, like, for example, they got Kobe over here and he has the Mamba mentality, right? Is there anything like that you do that for yourself that you can share with people, where maybe you switch out who you are, your character?
Good question. So, everybody do me a real quick favor. And I know it's COVID and all these different things, but touch the person beside you real quick. It wasn't hard, right? It wasn't hard, right? Even the reach wasn't hard, right? So it's about the mind switch, right? When you have faith to believe in yourself, right? That means that you're willing to throw it all in one basket. Nobody can tell you that you can't do it, right? It's like you have people around you, and people gonna come around you and say, hey, I wouldn't do that. How are you gonna pay your light bill? How are you gonna pay your water bill? So let me say one quick thing. Where I grew up at, I grew up with a caution light. I didn't have a grocery store. I didn't have any of those things. So where I grew up at in Alabama, small town Alabama, the country store was the grocery store. That was if you need medicine, that was the store you go get medicine from. If you need orange juice, eggs, grits, everything was right there at that one store. Anytime you had to go to the city, you had to drive. So what did that do? That taught you to be able to, you had to switch your mind to be able to survive, right? If you wanted to have you some greens, you got to grow them in the garden, right? Some people don't know anything about that, right? So when I got into the business, I was so engulfed into the business, and I heard earlier where it's like I took my 401k or people took that. I took that and still was homeless. I still slept in my truck. Because everybody, girlfriend, friends, you not gonna make it. You not gonna do it. But I had a skill, right? And nobody could take that skill away. Nobody, no matter what you told me. I had a mother that was a praying woman that basically said, whatever you decide you wanna do, right? I'm gonna stand behind you. So you had to switch that mind. Nobody gonna do it. No matter how many people you get around you, you gotta get around people that think like you think. If you get around people that think you're not gonna make it, guess what? You're not gonna make it. I don't care how much somebody give it to you or what. But you get around people that say, hey, you know what? I got some people that I can hook you up with. It ain't work out for me, but if you go in, you smiling, they gonna look out for you. Those type of people, I'm getting chills up here saying this to y'all. Those type of people are people that gonna help you. It lifts you. You gotta get around people that lift you. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter what kind of company you have and what you think you could do. You gotta be able to, first of all, believe in yourself. I started a clothing line that said bios. People say, what does that mean? I be like, believe in oneself. I wore it. When we are creatures of sight. So if we see something, we see the nice cars, we see those things, what do we want? We want them, right? We see the big numbers up, we want it, right? So if you start making you a vision board, it's really important. You gotta switch the mindset to a mindset of, it's not if I get it, it's when I get it. Say it. It's not if I get it. I can't hear you. Say it one more time. It's not if I get it, it's when I get it.
Come on, man.
All right, I can clap. We in church. Y'all know on my YouTube channel, I say it all the time, I preach to people. Because that's how I talk. Because I really do believe in this message, and I believe in what we do. It's taken care of me and my family and all of my friends' family for the last 24 years. So I stand behind everything I say. I stand behind the people, and that's why I brought them up here to share their stories. And as you see, we all start off similar, right? Not a lot of resources, any connections, if any, and just really believing in ourselves and doubling down.
And that's why I love you. I love you like a fat woman loves cake, and I love me some cake.
You see? And we have a good time too at the same time. You know. Listen, one of the things that you told me, one of her stories, I don't know if you remember this, but when the government calls you, like on a Thursday or Friday, and gives you a hot potato. Do you remember that story?
Which hot potato?
When the government calls you and wants you to turn around a proposal in 3 or 4 days.
Oh, that's good.
When they do that, you have to be able. Well, here's the thing. When they throw you a hot potato, they don't expect you to get it back by Friday. They don't. They do that because they feel, hey, let me throw this hot potato over the fence, and then you'll be running around not doing it. That's when you have to get in your car. I had a situation, I had to get in my car, drive to the bank, get a certified check, call somebody in North Carolina, tell them you can't mail this, you got to go over to the courthouse, you got to do X, Y, and Z. Whatever needed to be done, I did it. And that hot potato was back over in their yard before close of business. I'll say by 3 o'clock. That was not expected, but you have to do the unexpected.
Yeah.
You really do. And I really wanted to add to the panelists that have spoken. And the things that, and let me tell you, I have a little bit of background. I retired after 33 years of working for the federal government as a contracting officer. And if you don't know what that is, I'm the person who used to sign the contracts, okay? And what I noticed in my job, when they had the list of people for contracts, nobody looked like me. Nobody looked like me. And so what I did, I volunteered to start doing workshops. And I did the workshops, and you know how you have a class and you go in and you sit and they talk and you don't do anything? When they left my class, they were certified, had the paperwork in, all of that. So we grew the list from 13 people to 135. But it wasn't easy because when the government saw, because I went to the church, I went to the pool hall, I went to the club, I went everywhere. Oh yeah, Mama's in the club. I'm sorry. But anyway, I went every place that I knew that people would be, to the pool hall, everywhere. And that list grew from 13 to 135. There were a lot of people. But during that process, the first thing they did was, oh, you can't do it here. You can't have it here. So you know what that meant. I'm having it someplace else. Out in the community. I took it out into the community. Then they said, you can't have government people having coffee and this and that and the other. So I took care of that. Finally, everything they came up with, I was able to override it and do something else. So they just thanked me for my service and said, you could no longer volunteer for this. But in the meantime, a whole lot of folks, women, veterans, had contracts there at that base.
Stephannie, some parting words, and then Eugene, some parting words as well.
After listening to the panelists, I think one of the things that they stated is you have to get out. You have to get out. You have to create your network, right? When I started, I'm the only entrepreneur in my family. Definitely the only one to, hit 7 figures, at least in a business. But it didn't start like that. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, so it's not my first business. I definitely failed in the past, definitely went bankrupt in the past. So, you know, it wasn't an easy journey. But one of the things that I had to do was get up and get out. I couldn't find people in my state, so what did I do? I went out of state. You know, if a contract's out of state, I'm going out of state to see how that contract is. I'm not just gonna stay in one city or one state to see if this is gonna pop off or not, right? So that's one thing I wanna say. When you do get out there and network, don't just stay stuck in your city. Don't just stay stuck in your head. Don't just stay stuck behind a laptop or the computer or social media. You have to get out there, you have to shake hands, you have to meet people. They have to feel your energy. You have to feel each other's vibe and move forward with that.
I'll see you.
All right, so I'm gonna try to do this in a quick nutshell, right? But everybody in the room right now, if you want to have a successful company, raise your hand. Okay. Listen, and I'm gonna be so honest with you. When I said take your shoes off, take your shoes off. This is not something that gonna be handed to you, right? It's levels to it, right? In life, when you graduate, get your first job, making $30,000, $40,000, that ain't hard, right? You go to McDonald's, you can make that. But when you get to that level where you're trying to get to millions of dollars, that's a different level, right? And it's like playing basketball. You got 50 people that has that skill set, but only 2 make it to the NBA, right? Those 2 that make it, they go hard. So when you sleep, they up working. When you tell you're gonna take a break, they telling their body, we can't stop. You gotta tell yourself that it doesn't matter what it takes to get there, I'm gonna make it. You gotta really believe that. What that means is you gotta put yourself around people, take Eric's course, learn about the government. Just like one of the panelists was saying, and I was back there smiling when you said it, you gotta change your language. The way that you talked 10 years ago, you can't get up on a panel and talk that same way. You can't walk into a room where you got 10 other CEOs that's trying to go after the same contract. What makes you so much different? You gotta be able to speak your talk. One of the things that I've learned as I've been a CEO, and I'm an IT guy to the heart. But if you don't learn what you walking in that room to say, if I gotta look over and say, hey, my IT guy, what do we do now? You done lost when I come in that room. Because what I'm gonna tell you is, my programmer's standing behind me. And whatever they talk about, I can talk about it to the fullest. So if you can't be that person that carry that coat and walk around with it, you ain't stay up late. I could tell when you don't stay up late. Companies that come to me and ask me to mentor them, you know what I tell them? You still working at your job? Yeah, how long you gonna stay on that? Well, I'm gonna still work at my job. Don't come back to my office, please. Because guess what? You can't straddle the fence on this thing here. If you wanna make it, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it to you. If you wanna get there, you gotta get there. I told Eric, I went to the bank to get my first line of credit. I ain't have credit. Nobody taught me that in Alabama. Like, hey, you gotta have credit, young man, because he gonna take you somewhere. Nobody taught me that. I went to school, nobody told me nothing about credit. You know what I had to put on my cosigner? Jesus. That's my truth. The man said, you got a cosigner. My mama can't cosign. She ain't got credit. My dad, my dad, who? So who you got, young man? I wrote Jesus on there.
Did you really write it, Jesus?
Huh?
You wrote Jesus on
I wrote Jesus.
Yes, he wrote it.
I wrote Jesus
Yes, he wrote it.
on my cosigner. And guess what happened? The next day I got a phone call. They fired the man that's supposed to be giving me a line of credit, and the man that came in said, you bought a contract, so I'm gonna give you your $80,000 line of credit.
Man, come on.
So what I'm telling you is, This business ain't gonna give you, this business give you stories. It give you testimonies in which nobody can be able to come back. This is what we're up here to give you, testimonies. We telling you that you getting up, don't think that this is gonna be a cakewalk. Don't think that you ain't gonna run into no bumpy roads. So listen to these testimonies and just be prepared. But what you got is, you got an open door. You got somebody you can call. You put together panels, you get these cards, because everything that you want to do, from building your website to even talking about your company, somebody done did it. And if somebody give you their card and they shake your hand right here in this room and say, call me, if you don't call them, you selling yourself short. So bottom line of the whole thing, you're all successful in my book. Because you took the time out and you sacrificed just to come in this room tonight. So you're already winning. Keep winning.
One of the things that I wanted to say is that sometimes people come to me and they ask for advice. They want me to mentor them. And I tell them some things that I do, I don't expect you to do that. Remember what I said? I'm an old North Carolina country woman. That's who I am. So sometimes I can say something to somebody and they know that it's coming from me. They're okay with that. But what I wanted to do is to tell you, remember when I said, I came because of what you said, but I stayed because of what you did? One of the things that has been very valuable to me is that I have long-term relationships with my clients. Since 2010, I have been working from home. I received 2 awards from one agency. I have been working for them for 7 years. No one recognized me because I've never been there. I have challenges. So, but what I do it with excellence.
Yes.
2 things: continuous excellence, and for God's sakes, take care of your people. Take care of your people. They're not going to see you, hear your footsteps, hear your voice. They're not going to do that. It's the people that you put on site. So take care of them so they won't have to be concerned about their paychecks and their benefits and things of that nature. And as you grow your business, be very careful to step by step by step. I remember when I had a credit card, I had to have a secured credit card. Now that same credit card has a $70,000 limit. When you make money, keep money. Don't go broke. Don't get yourself in that situation. Manage your money, and then you will be able to walk in, and regardless of what you look like, you're the boss. You got the credit, you got the right balance. They told me, I said, 13%, what's that? They said, well, your assets and your liabilities is 13%. I said, what, is that good? They said, ma'am, that's great. I was buying a beach house. The person that worked there, you know what she asked me? Ma'am, are you buying a trailer? I said, no, I'm not. But do that, please. When you work with the government, they are looking for someone that they can depend on, that will stay there, that will be there, that won't have constant turnover with lottie-dottie and everybody. That's not what they're looking for. As a contracting officer, if you get someone that's really good, you're going to try to fight to keep them there. The largest contract we won was $40 million. Did I have a BD team and this, that? I didn't have any of that. You know what I had? I had relationship. What I put on the paper, they believed me. So I wish all of you well. I can tell you with no doubt in my mind, there's no way I would have been able to do the things that I've done without the government contracting. And this young man, trust me, I don't have a man, but if I had one, he couldn't get me to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That would be a no-no. But because, and I hear so many people talking, but they're not bringing anything. When I saw what he was doing, I said, I don't care if I have to crawl out here, I have to get here.
Yay.
Incredible.